Welcome to the Silhouettes of Success podcast with your host, successful entrepreneur, broker, and business mentor, Amber Weitzer. Because success comes in all shapes, sizes, and styles, the Silhouettes of Success podcast is shining the light on industrious women with a collection of curated conversations of intentional inspiration designed to inspire your heart, ignite your mind, feed your soul, and gift you with actionable insights directly from inspirational, everyday women who've shown tenacity, grit, and grace, having taken on the challenges in their lives and business and won. Remarkable, down-to-earth, and relatable, Amber and her guests will share with you uplifting and extraordinary real-life success stories, motivational ideas that just might help spark something within you. With the deepest desire to serve you, help you grow so you can begin to shine the light that will illuminate your very own silhouette of success. So, let's get to it.
Hello and welcome to the Amber Weitzer podcast, Silhouettes of Success. Today, our silhouette of success will keep you on the edge of your seat, and I'm so excited to talk with her today. With her unique talents and in-depth experience, along with her charismatic personality, she embodies all of the qualities, skills, and talents to help provide you with the extra kick or inspiration you need to get one step closer to your goals and dreams. So please help me welcome Morgan Hopson, native of Bonham, Texas, TCU graduate, licensed auctioneer, a graduate of Texas Auction Academy, now America's Auction Academy, and the Professional Ringman's Institute. Morgan is also a real estate licensed associate in Texas and Oklahoma. Her specialties include farm and ranch, recreational and luxury real estate, as well as consulting with nonprofits and associations to help them achieve their fundraising goals. So we need a big drum roll, please. Hello, Morgan.
Hi, thank you so much for having me today.
Well, thank you for joining us. Once again, welcome. We are thrilled to have you join us as you share your silhouette of success.
Well, I'm excited to be here.
Thank you. So to help illustrate your silhouette of success for the audience, it's my understanding that you are the recipient of some impressive accolades and have earned some notable achievements with your hard work and dedication, of course. So for example, and I'll have you talk through these. This is so impressive to me, but you hold the prestigious CAI, Certified Auctioneers Institute, from the National Auctioneers Association Education Institute. That's a mouthful for me.
It is.
So I'll, and you've got that talent too, but I'm going to let you talk about that in details in a minute and share everything. But you're also currently serving as an ambassador on a task force. We're going to let you fill us in, and you've got some wonderful awards that I heard about in 2015 and 2019. And so there you go. Fill us in on all of those great things and talk to us about that.
Absolutely. So I have been in the auction industry for about a decade now, and through that have just had some incredible opportunities to further my education, to compete in some contests, to be involved with our National Auctioneers Association through various task force, and really be able to connect with our members on a different level, which means auctioneers across the country. So that's been really exciting for me, and I've really enjoyed that experience. You mentioned CAI, and just so our listeners know, that is the Certified Auctioneers Institute. It's a 3-year program, and it's put on by the National Auctioneers Association's Education Institute, which I believe you mentioned. That is the highest designation as an auctioneer we can receive. So I guess, if you will, it's kind of like a master's program for the auction industry. And so we get a lot of great education and ability to network with people like ourselves, other auction professionals around the country. And so that is something that is highly coveted by auctioneers, a designation that is definitely earned by auctioneers across the country, and something that we are really proud of.
Outstanding is not the proper word, especially having achieved the creme de la creme, right? But you have, of course, earned that. We'll break down, the career path and all those good things. But while we're talking about that, and because you're discussing the certification, how does one even go about approaching that path?
Of the auction industry, or
Yes,
Sure.
yes.
So my story is probably a little different than most. I am a first generation auctioneer. And so how kind of I got into the business was through a good family friend of mine. And I was going to TCU at the time and was looking to graduate in May, which I did, but had committed to an internship with a school of music through that summer. And then I was getting a degree in music and then also in marketing from the Neely School. And so with those two degrees, I was really interested in staying in the music industry. I started playing the violin when I was 2.5, and it's something I've always just been really passionate about. And so for me, looking towards my career, looking towards the future, I saw the music industry and thought that was my path. I had lined up an internship in Nashville with a production company that didn't start until August, middle of August. And so I kind of had this weird time in between where I'd finished my internship with a school of music after graduating, was planning on moving to Nashville to do this internship and then hopefully pick up some studio work or be able to perform as a violinist out there. And a good family friend approached me and he said, "Hey, why don't you come work for me for a while? If you like it, great. If you don't, no big deal." And I said, that would be great. I would love to. And so he was interested in me doing marketing for him. And I knew that he owned a real estate auction company. And so I thought, I don't know anything about the auction industry. And so in Texas, you have to be licensed to be an auctioneer. And so that's when I went to Texas Auction Academy, which is now America's Auction Academy. But while I was there, I had no idea that the auction industry even existed in multiple communities of practice. My thought then was that I'd been to some livestock sales, but never really thought much outside of that, right? And so when I went to auction school, it kind of opened up a lot of doors for me as far as me seeing different paths for myself. And I just thought, this is so interesting and it relates so much to the auction industry. And I say that the music industry is so similar because think about the dedication to perfecting your craft. Think about all the practice and preparation that goes into being on stage. Think about how, as a musician and as an auctioneer, we have to engage with our audience and try to evoke emotion out of the people that we're standing in front of. And so that's the exact same way we would prepare as if we were a musician, which I had done for all of my life. And so I just saw so many parallels there. That's really when I kind of got the auction bug, if you will, and really became interested in the auction profession. So I've been doing it ever since.
It is such a beautiful story, and there seems to be a natural progressive flow, like you talked about, the parallels of the two. But I think you are the only one that I know that was able to find that. So you talk about performing, right? Yeah, absolutely. It's just so unique. And what a gift. What a blessing.
Thank you. I think so too. The auction industry has been such a blessing to me. And like I mentioned, growing up in the music industry is something that I'm still really passionate about, but that's where I saw my life going. And I really took a turn in a unique career path when I joined the auction industry, but everyone has been so supportive, which I don't believe you see in a lot of other careers or a lot of other industries. But I think something that's so unique about the auction industry is that people really do want you to succeed. I mean, I have counterparts across the country and I could call any of them today and say, "Hey, I have this going on," or "I have a question about this." And people would be so willing and so supportive to give you advice and kind of lend a hand when they need to.
That's outstanding. Wow. And we'll dive into more of that in a minute because again, I want to go back to the performance aspect and your violin playing and all those great things. Those are exciting too in their own facet of your silhouette. So talk to us a little bit about the task force. You're an ambassador on a task force, and I don't want to get the acronyms incorrect. So I'm going to let you share that. And then you have some really impressive awards here that I've read about. So talk to us about those.
Sure. Well, thank you. I've been a member of the National Auctioneers Association for a decade. So since I went to auction school, I joined at auction school and I've been a member ever since. And in the past few years, I've really had the opportunity to get involved. I've been a state ambassador, which just means I'm a resource for our local auctioneers in our state if they have any questions about what's going on in the NAA, if they have questions about different educational opportunities, or just need someone to bounce ideas off of. I'm that person for them to be able to contact. And of course, they can contact our national association as well. But it is nice to have, a state ambassador, someone that's local that you can reach out to if needed. So it's been a great opportunity. Like I mentioned earlier, it's allowed me to connect with our members on a deeper level, and something that I believe connection is really important, and being heard and having someone to feed off of, kind of, that's in your industry with you, right? So
right.
It's important to have those people in your life. So I've been really blessed to be put in that position where I'm able to connect with our members on a monthly basis. And so with that, I've also been on a couple different task forces. Currently, I am involved with the National Auctioneers Association FFA task force. And I am so passionate about this project. And I say that because what we're doing is we've structured, and it's the Future Farmers of America for those who aren't familiar with the FFA. But we've created some educational curriculum, and then we've also created an SAE, which is kind of like a capstone for FFA members. And we've created these programs for our youth. And I think it is so important because we are setting up that next generation to learn and be educated about the auction industry. And that's something that's really important to me, because I think about my career as a first generation auctioneer, and I sit back and I think, wow, what if I had known about the auction industry when I was in high school? Much less, what if I had known about the auction industry when I was in elementary school or middle school? What kind of an impact would that have had on my life? And so I think it is really cool that we're getting to introduce this program to our next generation, because maybe that puts a bug in their ear for a career path they had zero idea existed. And what's neat about the auction industry is that you don't necessarily have to be behind a microphone to be involved. You can be a graphic designer, you can be a photographer, you can be a lawyer, you can be a web developer. There's so many different career paths within our industry that even if you're totally uncomfortable with getting behind a microphone, there's still a place for you. And I think not only are we educating them about career paths within the auction industry, but we're able to educate them about the profession as a whole and what auctions are and the auction method of marketing. And hopefully they not only understand more about the auction industry, but are able to share that with their friends and their family.
Okay, well, sign me up. We'll just,
Right.
we can just end this now. Sign me up. Listen to okay, so passion is one thing, and you've got that without a doubt. I love how you use the word cool, because that's exactly what I am picturing, is this is just cool. I mean, and I think there are so many youngsters out there that would just eat this up. I mean, how cool is this?
Right.
It really is. So congratulations to you, and thank you for what you're doing with the FFA and that educational awareness, because it is a door that I don't think many people know is an opportunity out there.
Absolutely. And that's just our goal to say, hey, the auction industry could be for you. Maybe it's something you have considered, but maybe you want to take a look at it, because there are a lot of opportunities within our industry. And like I mentioned, you don't have to be the one behind the mic if you don't want to be. You can be a lawyer, you can be a photographer. There's so many different career paths for these kids to consider when they're looking at what profession they might have interest in.
In your field, are there a lot of females behind the microphone?
Sure. I would say predominantly we are a male-dominated industry, but I think there are women in our industry. Could we use more? Absolutely. But I think you're seeing more and more women come into our profession, which is encouraging. I think it just brings a little something different to the table. Not any better, any worse, but we need those voices, right, within our industry. And so there is a smaller number of women involved, but I think we're seeing that number grow as we move towards the future.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Okay, so in addition to everything that you're doing, and I'm a note taker, and I always say that because it's true. I'm sitting here taking notes and scribbling, and but on top of that, you're also very active in your community as an advocate with the Junior League of Oklahoma City. So, wow, yay you.
Thank you.
Where do you think the drive to serve and support comes from? Because even in what you're doing in your professional role, you are still, of course, you're presenting and performing, but you're also serving the community in the role that you have by being up there.
I think, predominantly that comes from my upbringing. My parents were always really involved and still are in our community. They've always been involved in the professional associations that they've been a part of. And so I think a lot of that just stems from them making sure that as I was growing up, I was really aware of, we're a part of this community and it's important for us to be involved and to give back, right, to the community that means so much to us. And so I think they really instilled that in me that, as we progress throughout life, we're going to be involved maybe in different communities or maybe different industries, but whatever we're involved in, it's important for us to give back to those around us and really be a part of something bigger than ourselves.
That's beautiful. It truly is. And it shows. It shows just in, you do illuminate. I have to say, I was fascinated observing you and your talents, but you have just this illumination about you and the communities that you are in and impacting. I'm quite confident I can say this. When you're talking with somebody across the country or across the nation in the role that you do, I hear it in your voice and I can feel it even through, us talking here. So what a treat. So Morgan, the alarm clock goes off or chimes or whatever you use and the workday kicks off for you. Share a little bit about a day in the life for you with our audience.
Well, I think that's one beauty of being in the industry that I'm in is that every day is a little bit different, right? We don't have a set schedule 8 to 5. I'm not sitting behind a desk every day, which is something that I love about what I do. I'm able to interact with people around me. Our company primarily sells farm and ranch real estate, hunting properties, luxury homes, and we do a lot of that at auction. In addition to that, as you mentioned before, I consult with a lot of nonprofit organizations and associations around the country to help them see them through their fundraising goals. And I'm able to do a little contract work as an auctioneer. But what's really neat to me is that every single day is different. I'm going to have a different project in front of me every single day. So today, maybe I'm working on a marketing plan for a big auction that we're doing. Later this afternoon, maybe I'm consulting with a nonprofit about their fundraiser and what that looks like for them and their goals. And so I think every day is just kind of a reminder, okay, I get to be a part of something bigger today. I get to be a part of someone else's goals and accomplishments. And that's really neat to me because we're in a unique position as auctioneers that most times we're entrusted with our client's biggest asset or fundraiser, whatever it may be, right? If you think about it, I mean, you think about these families that owned large farm or ranch land, you think about nonprofits who are entrusting me to come in and help raise money for their biggest event of the year that's going to sustain them through the next year. And we're charged with a big task there, but we're also able to help see them through their goals and really get to know them as a nonprofit or association or get to know their mission. And then also, on the real estate side of things, we're able to get to know our clients on a personal level and what's important to them and what their goals are. And so I think that's kind of what keeps me going every day is that I get to be a part of something bigger and helping someone else achieve their goals and move towards whatever that is, right, that they're striving for. And so my day is a little different every day. I usually am traveling a lot, which obviously in the past year I haven't been able to do as much, but it's been nice to kind of have a little time to sit back and reflect, even though we've been in some turbulent times in this last year.
That is fascinating. And again, I think that's going to be a bigger impact for those that you are educating about the opportunities to add that component to it as well, because there's a project management component, there's the community service, there's the collaboration, and then you've got that great responsibility. So, wow, that's a great package to
Well,
to
thank you.
share with somebody. But just all of those different skills that you've got, and you are, of course, sharing with everybody else the talents of that. So in doing what you do, has there ever been a specific point in time or key situation or event in your professional life that really forced you to take a monumental shift in how you were approaching the career or the business? And if there was something that you can think of, was it positive or painful, and how did that help you grow?
The obvious answer for me currently kind of still being in this time is COVID and how it's impacted our industry, especially for my nonprofits and associations. Those clients that I have, a lot of that either stopped for them and they weren't able to do a big event, which they usually rely on, like I mentioned, to sustain them through the next few years or to continue their programming. So that's been really interesting in the past year and a half, kind of figuring out, okay, what does that look like? Are we gonna do a virtual event? Or how do we engage our audience that we would normally have in a live room? It's been a lot of adjusting and pivoting and trial and error, I guess for lack of a better term, to see what works best and how we can really engage different audiences. And what I've kind of found through that is actually, there's nothing like being in a live room. So don't get me wrong there. I would prefer for us to be all in a room together. But when we're not, what I found is that convenience, right? For people doing these virtual events, they want to feel some sort of connection. And so I think people have really enjoyed them because they're able to interact with the people that they would normally be interacting with. And not only that, they're able to support an organization that they care about. And we're able to do that through these virtual events. And like I said, it's not the same as being in person, but we are able to bring a little light, I think, into people's lives and some entertainment there. And so that's been kind of fun for me this past year, trying to figure out the best way to engage with our crowds that we would normally see in person. Obviously, throughout our industry, COVID has had an incredible impact. A lot of what we do is live in person, and there's a lot online as well. And so I think just making that shift to using that online platform more than just being at a live in-person or live bid calling event has been really a shift.
I think it's fantastic that we did have that opportunity to have a platform to shift to. It truly is. And I know everyone is so ready to be back out and at those live events. And there's just some magic that happens when you're in person,
Yes.
but it's fabulous to be able to have the technology platforms to continue to, like you say, at least engage in how we were able to and reach some goals, because a varied platform of what you do, my brain is working over. I'm just envisioning, all of those things. So you've got the real estate and you've got, I'm just seeing in my head farm and ranch and all those things. But then turn the page and I see you just, working with your nonprofits and the associations. It's a completely different ballgame on even the position that they're all in.
Absolutely. It's like I mentioned earlier, it's something different every day. And every day we're tasked with a new challenge or a new maybe obstacle. That's kind of the fun in it, right? Trying to figure that out, do some trial and error, what works best for our clients, what works best for our company, and trying to figure out the best way for us all to achieve our goals. And, you think about if this would have happened 20 years ago, we wouldn't have had the online platforms that we have today. And I think, going forward, I see our industry incorporating, hybrid events even more, because for those people who aren't able to travel or aren't able to be engaged or aren't able to make said event for whatever reason, they can still feel connected and participate in an event. And so I think that is really a great opportunity for us going forward, something that maybe we haven't considered in the past. We have a live event, and with our real estate platform, we do a lot of simulcast auctions. So if someone's not able to be there, they're able to tune in a different way. But I think looking at, nonprofits and benefits from a standpoint of, this particular person can't be there. Well, no problem. We'll stream it to them, right? So they can still be engaged in our evening. So that's really exciting to me.
Well, the accessibility has been phenomenal to be able to have that for sure. And it's interesting, you mentioned in one of your last comments there about those hurdles that we've got to go through. So if you were to think about more on your personal level, your personal professional level, do you ever get stuck and you need extra motivation? And, is there something that you can share with our audience that might help them? Do you have any secrets for getting unstuck or breaking through what seems to be a barrier to reach a goal or a task or a dream that you might have?
Absolutely. I think for me, it's been surrounding myself with the right people. If I am needing encouragement or motivation, obviously my parents are probably the first I'm going to reach out to. I am very blessed to have a great mentor and the owner of our company, Craig Buford, and he has been a huge influence in my life. And I think, having those mentors, having those people that you can reach out to and just say, hey, look, I'm going through this or I'm having this problem or having this hurdle that I need to jump over. Having the ability to have those people in your life that you can reach out to, and no matter what, they will give you constructive feedback to say, hey, have you considered this? Have you thought about X scenario? I think that is really important for us to surround ourselves with people and mentors, coaches, whatever it might be for you, people that you trust, that have your back no matter what situation you may be in, so that you can reach out and bounce ideas off of them. And I'd say, for people who don't be afraid to ask someone to be that person for you, whether you need an accountability partner, whether you need to check in with someone once a month to make sure you're still on task to reach your goals. I'm a big goal setter, right? So I like writing things down. I am just by nature like having a plan, but I think it's important to have someone hold you accountable to the things that you're setting out to do. If that truly is a goal you're trying to seek, that we have people in our lives that can help us achieve our goals. I don't think any of us get where we are without support and encouragement from others. And so I think having that support system and having that group of people around you that are going to help you achieve those goals is incredibly important.
That's amazing. And yes, surround yourself and don't have an ego about asking for help.
Right.
That took me a long time to learn. A long time. Let's just be real. So Morgan, our silhouettes are multifaceted with many layers. And you, of course, I'm learning more and more and more as we visit, are definitely no different. In fact, I'm fascinated. I just keep leaning into this microphone like we're talking. Face to face. But something that you talked about earlier, and it did pique my curiosity, another facet of your silhouette would be your talents as a concert violinist, or is it the fiddle too? Do you play both? Talk to us about that.
Sure. So violin and fiddle are very similar. It's just the same instrument, just a different style of music. Like I mentioned, I started playing the violin when I was about 2.5, and it was totally something that I wanted to do on my own. I think my parents would both tell you that they are not musically inclined. And this is the story that I've been told, that I saw it on Sesame Street and really just was bugging my parents about wanting to learn how to play the violin. And so my mom found an early childhood development program in Dallas, which is the Suzuki Institute and Suzuki Music Institute of Dallas. And I started going there. And like I mentioned, it's an early childhood development program, where they believe in early childhood development. But I was with that school for many years. So when I started school, I would go to school for half a day, and then I'd be able to leave school and go to music school for the other half of the day. And I did that 4 days a week, 5 days a week, depending on rehearsals and kind of when my music classes fell. And so that's something I am very fortunate to be able to have done, and that our superintendent at the time for our school district would allow me to do that. And, as she said, as long as you're getting your work done and we don't have a problem, right, with you being able to do that. And so I played violin all through high school, and then was really fortunate to get a full ride music scholarship from TCU. And so I went on to TCU and played in the symphony, and obviously took private lessons the whole time I was there.
Okay. I am waving the white flag. This is amazing. Wow. So you are a goal setter. You do like the plan.
I do.
And the accountability. Oh, that is phenomenal. I have to go back a little bit because I had made a note for myself as obviously an admirer of the auctioneers. How do you learn to fast talk? The fast chant. What is the right terminology for that? Since we're talking about performing too. Talk to us about that.
So we call it a chant or bid calling, is what it's referred to occasionally. You learn the basics of that in auction school, or at least I did. I mean, some people are third, fourth, fifth generation auctioneers, so it's just something that's come naturally to them through their family. But for me, I learned it in auction school, and you really learn the basics of your chant, right? So we call it a 3-part chant. You state what you have, then you state what you're asking for, and then you actually ask for that dollar amount. So it'd be 5, now 10, would you give 10? And so that's the raw basics, right, of what we're saying. For me, I sought out a coach. His name is Neil Davis. He's also a world champion auctioneer. And again, just not being afraid to reach out to those people, right, that you think might be able to help or might be willing to help. And so I reached out to Neil and said I had met him in passing, and he had briefly helped me for a couple of minutes at a convention I attended. And so I just reached out to him and I said, I'm not sure if you remember me, but my name's Morgan Hopson, and I would love your help. I think I've got a good base, but I don't sound exactly like what I want to, right? I don't have the chant that I think I could have. And so he spent some time with me and really helped me hone my skills in that way. And again, a lot of practice, a lot of dedication to honing your craft goes into that. And again, I found myself comparing that to, okay, if I'm learning a new concerto, if I'm learning a new piece on the violin, I'm putting in that same type and same structure of work as I would for my chant. And so over the years, I think you mentioned earlier, I've competed in multiple contests. And so I've been able to kind of hone that craft a little more. And then by other opportunities, people have allowed me early in my career to get behind the microphone. And I think, again, just enforcing that we don't accomplish our goals by ourselves. I've had a lot of people who have encouraged me, who have had faith in me and put me on the auction block so that I could gain experience to get where I am today. And I'm sure that I still have a lot left to learn. It has been an exciting journey for sure.
I would say that you are a lifelong learner like many, but I just, in everything that you're sharing, you having the courage to reach out when you do want to up your game, right? And not having the fear of that because you've got a bigger goal in mind and collaborating with these amazing individuals in your life. And you're paying attention too when you meet them. Like, okay, place that. I might need to reach out to that individual later. Right. So good for you.
I think, something my mom kind of always ingrained in me was, what's the worst thing they're going to say? No. Right. So don't be afraid to ask that question, because if you don't ask, you'll never know. And so I just kind of go into it with that attitude, like, well, I can ask for it. Doesn't mean I'm going to get it. Right. But we have to be willing to kind of take that first step.
And so many times, perhaps you'll agree that once we do make that reach out or that call or that connection, they're actually happy to help.
Definitely.
Isn't that great?
I think so. And as I mentioned, I've had so many people that have been rooting for my success, that have lifted me up, have encouraged me to reach my fullest potential. And I think all it really takes is us asking someone to invest in what we're doing. Because like you said, most of the time when you reach out to someone, they're like, of course, I'd be happy to help you. I think it's just having that courage to take that first step and make that initial introduction.
Yeah. Wow. Love it. Love it. So Morgan, in respecting your time, because I know you've got a busy schedule, and as we start to wind down, some of the things we always like to share with our audience, any resources or favorite books or authors that perhaps you turn to for uplifting, motivation, inspiration. Do you have anything that you'd want to share with us?
I like Brené Brown. I read Jen Hatmaker's books. I think for me, where I really find a lot of peace and motivation and inspiration is through music. And it may vary, day to day, but I do have a couple of Christian artists that I like to, especially to kind of reflect when I'm reflecting or kind of need that time for myself. Phil Wickham, Nicole Nordeman, Matthew West. Those are just a few of the artists that I really like listening to. I think they have great messages. And of course, we're only put on this earth, for a short amount of time. And as we go through it, it's just for me, remembering that we have the opportunity to live a legacy and something that hopefully people will look back and maybe they don't remember our name, but we were able to make a significant impact. And so, through these authors and through these musicians and artists, I'm kind of reminded of that sometimes and reminded that it's about the bigger picture here. We're on this earth to do good. And I strongly believe that. And if we can make a little impact in someone's life that could change a trajectory for them, I think that's really important to keep in mind.
You have me speechless. So I just have to say to the auctioneer, you have me speechless. You're the zest for life that you have and for just inspiring and giving. And I agree with you on the music. Again, I don't have any of the near talent that you have. I have the admiration for your talent, but I share the appreciation for music. And that's something that is my go-to, if you will, as well.
Yes.
So Morgan, this has been so fun and immensely inspiring talking with you. And as we wrap up our visit today, and in keeping the promise to share intentional inspiration, and you've shared quite a bit, so I'm going to ask the question anyways, even though I can go back and look at my notes, but you probably have more. Is there any one key piece of go-to advice that maybe was shared with you that resonates, or something that you lean on for our listeners? Do you have something, just a raw piece of go-to advice?
I think what I always try to keep in mind, and I'm sure I've kind of mentioned this throughout our visit, but don't be afraid to put yourself out there and be vulnerable at times and step out of your comfort zone. I think that we all have more people in our corner than we think. So take that next step, chase your dreams, embrace your ambition, because in my experience, it's going to help you grow both personally and professionally. And I think you can only see positive things come from it.
Of course, epic advice. Of course I was going to. That is awesome. Thank you.
You're welcome.
So as we close out, where can our audience go to find you on your socials or support you in your continued success? Anything that you'd like to share?
Sure. So you can contact me anytime. You can go to our website, which is Buford, BUFORD, resources.com. If you just go to meet our team, my information is there, email address, phone number. And like I said, don't be afraid to reach out. So.
Excellent. Thank you. Thank you. Well, as we wrap up, thank you once again for sharing your time with us, your depth of experience and silhouette of success story, which I know is just getting started. So we might have to follow up in a couple of years.
Absolutely. I love that.
Excellent. Well, it's been my genuine pleasure. Thank you so much for taking time with us today.
Mine as well. Thank you, Amber, so much for having me.
Thank you for joining us on this episode of the Silhouettes of Success podcast. If you enjoyed the show, make sure you subscribe so you don't miss out and join us for all the new episodes. We are here for you and with you. We encourage you to share this podcast on all your socials and pass on the light to help illuminate another silhouette of success. Amber would love to hear from you, and you can find her on Facebook, LinkedIn, Instagram, or head over to amberweitzer.com. Let's connect. Help us all shine and leave us a review too. To find out the latest ways to inspire your heart, ignite your mind, and gain actionable insights, subscribe at amberweitzer.com. We are honored, humbled, and full of joy that you've tuned in. Remember, you are exactly where you need to be, right here with us. This is the Amber Weitzer podcast, Silhouettes of Success.